Hi everyone, long time no see. I'm gonna try to record a video. Let's see how it goes. This is just gonna be a get ready with me with the NARS, what is this thing called? Natural Radiant Longwear in Siberia. They finally brought out this shade in this formula. Finally, probably quite a few months ago now. I'm sick. I have things have been a bit of a mess lately. I guess I can talk about that. Like a month ago, I was trying to, my 3-year-old came into my bedroom, into our bedroom, to get a kiss on his foot because he hurt his foot. And in the process of trying to get him, hike up his leg on to the bed so I could give it a kiss, he started to fall over. So I tried to keep him from falling over, which, as you may guess, pulled me right off the bed, and I put my arm out to catch myself, and it just kind of went splat and partially dislocated my shoulder, which I'm very flexible. Naturally, I have something called hypermobility syndrome. All of my joints are way over flexible. Way too loose. So in a way it was kind of helpful in this situation because it kept the shoulder from like tearing anything, you know. It ended up being probably a lot less of an injury. But anyway, so I am getting physical therapy twice a week to try to strengthen all the stuff that's so loose, which is actually both shoulders are really loose. So it's been good trying to strengthen all these things that I've had difficulty even figuring out how to move them because they're all just so weak. And so that's been going on. I'm just gonna do a little tight line. So this is an expired. There's like no sun, so I don't think it's a huge deal. I've been using like the silicone-based SPFs lately. I have one for Paula's Choice, but it's downstairs, and I like that one better than this formula. This is the MURAD INVISIBLUR SPF 30. I prefer the Paula's Choice. It's like serum primer or something. It's the same kind of thing, but it feels like it kind of absorbs a little bit more. Isn't quite as like thick and tend to ball up type thing, but it might also be because that MURAD one is old and expired. The expired part of it is just like the SPF that's expired. It doesn't smell different. It feels pretty much the same. So I'm just going to tie line with this Urban Decay Demolition pencil, which I've also had forever. And so it's just kind of a dark brown, slightly cooler brown. You know, something like whiskey is warmer toned. So anyway, I've had that, and then I like tweaked my back the other day, which I think was because of a ballet thing. Kind of irritated my back. Ballet has been going great. I love this teacher. She is so good. She's exactly what I need. And like she pushes me in ways that other teachers didn't push me, but like all in the best ways. Because my previous teacher that I had for a long time in Miami, she really pushed me too, but it was stuff that with my joint issues, it just caused a lot of problems with my knees, lots of jumping, and even when I was in really good shape, it just always really bothered my knees and my ankles. Lots of time spent up, like high up on your feet, which puts a lot of strain on the ankles and whatever. So anyway, this teacher, even though it's like an 1.5-hour class, it's actually helping my knee and ankles, and it's been great. They're really hard classes, but it has been great. All right, so I'm so glad I'm going. It's like I want to be able to go twice a week, but I don't want to not take classes with her, and she only teaches once a week, so oh well, it's for the best anyway. Okay, here it is. I was looking for my eye primer. I'm still using this I Love Color Intensifying Base from Essence, and it is lighter than something like, you know, Painterly and Soft Ochre from MAC, the paint pots, and it works pretty well as a primer. I do find using those slippy silicone-y SPF type things, where I'm using a ton of those to try to get something similar to my regular SPF. I'm sure people have comments about that, but so it goes. I am literally never outside. I'm only dealing with the sun coming through the windows. I think I'm okay. I do find that it tends to make my eyeshadow crease, and you know, ideally if I'm wearing something that already tends to crease a little bit, I will just use like a glitter primer, which is the only thing that will really keep those really creasy type shadows. Something like the foil shadows from Makeup Geek. Those always crease on me no matter what. But anyway, when I'm using those silicone-y primers on my lids, I do find that stuff creases a little bit more frequently. So I'm gonna do something super simple. This is what I wore yesterday and it looks so nice. And I thought it was kind of like a nice technique to show, where even if you're wearing something super shimmery, you still can sometimes use it as a one shadow look without it being too funky looking, even if you have kind of crepey eyelids, loose eyelid skin. So I'm using the Juvia's Place, the Nubian 2. These are probably still on sale for like 35% off at Ulta. Maybe. They're probably still on sale from the Juvia's Place website. So all I'm going to use is this shade, this one, called Sheba. It's a really pretty bronzy color that isn't too warm. You know, shades always go very warm on my skin. Fair skin in general seems to bring out the orange in shades like that. But this one doesn't go super, super warm, which I appreciate. I wore to Thanksgiving, I wore this shade. It was so bright. It was like bright copper penny. It was pretty, but it was a little bit more intense than I was planning on. So I'm just going to take this on something that's kind of shaped like a 217. This is a MAC 217. This is a base shadow brush from Real Techniques. And yeah, I'm just going to kind of slap it on here. And I'm going to put this everywhere. Oh, I am going to use another shadow, but just to make it a tiny bit lighter and shinier in the base, in the center of my lid. Just because this shade looks pretty dark on me because of my skin tone. And I don't want to do like totally smoky. So all I'm doing is trying to focus most of it on my lid and then just kind of blending out up into my crease, and that is it. That is literally it. Very quick, very easy. Juvia's Place shadows, I think, are some of my favorite shimmers. Their shimmer formula. It just looks so pretty on my lids without like really accentuating the texture of having slightly looser eyelid skin, where things can look really scaly with a lot of shimmer and like a metallic. It's like you kind of get that metallic effect without so much of that scaly situation. So you can see that's pretty dark. So then what I'm going to do is just take a little bit of this Zuri shade, which is the lightest shade in the palette. And I'm just going to put that just a little on my brush, tap it off, and then just go into the very middle of my lid and kind of bring it up. And this will just kind of disappear. When you apply it with the brush, it's just going to make it a little bit shinier in the center, but you're not going to see like a stripe. If you put it on with your finger, it's more likely to be kind of stripy, and it will require a little bit more effort to blend it out, and it's going to look a little bit more like kind of a spotlight halo shape, which I also do a lot, but that's not what I'm trying to do today because I'm just trying to do something quick. So yeah, so the back thing, the shoulder thing, and then whatever this illness is, which is like causing digestive issues, and now is also like a cold, which makes my throat feel all weird and like it's all. Oh, and I have cut my hair since I think the last video I did. So I did like a pretty severe undercut all the way around. Now I'm growing out this like around here, because I found that having that undercut all the way up here just was kind of hard to deal with and was a funny shape, and it also went right through my cowlick, so you can see my cowlick here is kind of growing out. It's really funky looking in the back right now. And I don't care. That's fine. you know? Really, truly do not care. If I can make it look okay in the front. Sometimes I wear it like down. Sometimes it wants to all go this way, I would say. Like this part all wants to come over. This all wants to hang down. So that's kind of the way it likes to go. When I'm trying to look a little bit more feminine, a little bit less accentuating what a like drastic haircut it is, I do tend to part it somewhere over here. And so then I've got some on this side and some on this side, and it kind of looks more like a more kind of standard feminine cut. I don't know if I talked about it on YouTube. I did come out as non-binary. I definitely feel more masculine than feminine. I always have. I've always wanted to kind of look like a guy, kind of wanted to have a guy's haircut, wanted to dress like a guy. And after a lot of thinking about it, once I had really kind of learned about non-binary being a thing, which I totally did not know about until several years ago, I was like, yeah, at first I thought, oh no, maybe that's not me. And then I thought about like, I like hanging around guys because I feel like I think like them a little bit more. And while it's easy to be around women, it's like I don't like calling myself a woman. That word has always felt really uncomfortable for me. Like being labeled a mom always made me really uncomfortable. So now I just, I like being a parent and I like being a person. It just kind of fits for me better, I think. So NARS Natural Radiant Longwear Foundation in Siberia. And I'm trying to shake it well because it says to shake it well. And so I was going to do the Anastasia Luminous Foundation, but if I recall correctly, it does not sit well on top of those silicone ones, whereas this foundation does. I did 2 pumps, which is probably way too much, but I would rather just get out too much right now and the effort of going back in and getting more out. It does tend to look pretty heavy on me. My skin really doesn't wear makeup very well. It tends to really accentuate that my skin is kind of dry in places, and so I try to go relatively lighter coverage on everything, and this, because it's a little more concentrated, I feel like it's kind of easy to go overboard. But I'm really trying not to. I did find though that it blends out really nicely over the silicone type primer, skincare, whatever, than over kind of what I had been wearing, which is more of like a grippy skincare. So this seems to be a way for me to use less product to get it to blend out a little more easily and give me, kind of medium coverage as opposed to tending more towards full coverage and then not being what I want. So Siberia is such a nice yellow shade. There just really aren't a lot of shades out there that are this kind of yellowy tone, that kind of cooler yellow undertone. So I was really happy when they brought this out. It's not as pale as all the really pale stuff that's out there. And it's just really nice because it's such a unique tone. And this formula works better for me, I think, if I can figure out the right skincare to wear with it. I just cannot make the other formulas work very well for me. Though I haven't tried the All Day Luminous in a long time. I bought it and ended up returning it because I just could not make it wear even remotely well on my skin. But I do wonder, maybe it would work better over like a silicone base like this. So maybe I'll get a sample of that one again to see how it wears. But I mean, really, do I need to? No. I've been less interested in buying makeup. I haven't been watching any YouTube. I unfollowed almost all of like the companies. So I do still have some left. And I might actually use this under my eyes now that I think about it. Some formulas I can use under my eyes and some not so much. Some will just crease and crease and crease and crease and just never look good. Whereas others seem to sit okay under there. Yeah, so I've just kind of like taken myself out of the grind of new makeup and whatnot. And it's been so much more. I've just really enjoyed not being stressed about wanting new things and like trying to make these decisions on like what I really want and what I can just skip. And it's just easier to not want stuff. You know, I don't know what's coming out. I'm also, even if I see new stuff, I might think, oh, maybe, and then just be like, eh, and be fine with that. Whereas before it was just like so stressful because it's like, well, I want to do these foundations on my channel. Plus, you know, every once in a while I want to buy something for myself too. And so much of my purchasing ended up being stuff I was going to show on my channel. And less stuff I wanted to do. And like the grind, again with the grind of foundation reviews is just kind of not fun, you know? It's like sometimes, well, I've just kind of lost interest in making videos in general, but what's most watched and most likely to get me somewhere with YouTube is foundation stuff, and that's also the most work, and really can feel just more like a job and not fun. And this is, since I can't really make any money at this, you know, it's like a not fun job that I'm not getting paid for except like pennies. What is the point of that? There is no point in that. So that's why I just stopped and decided, you know what, I'm just going to walk away for a while. If I come back, I come back. If I don't, I don't. So that's where we are right now. I don't know what I'm going to do. For setting powder, I'm using the Laura Mercier loose setting powder, which if I'm wearing a super pale foundation and super pale concealer, sometimes that can darken it a little bit, which sometimes is what I want. With this kind of shade of foundation, it's fine. And with the kind of silicone SPF, I found that it's not too drying, whereas when I'm using a more dry base, it is too dry for me under my eyes and elsewhere. So it's been kind of nice to also find a way to use this because it's such a lovely setting powder. And then I'm just going to go to the places where I do get oily and foundation wears off kind of funny. I'm just like singing the praises of silicone SPFs right now. Another thing I like about those kind of primary silicone situations is that instead of my foundation sticking to my face better but getting really patchy, these just kind of like, the foundation will kind of fade off, kind of like when I had oilier skin, how foundation would just kind of disappear. I would much rather have it just kind of disappear than get patchy, because the patchiness with the little polka dots, oh, it's awful. It's so awful and so obvious that you're having major foundation problems. Whereas like, I don't need a lot of coverage. I like to wear foundation to even things out. But if I start losing coverage from my chin and my nose, it can look a lot more natural, really. So it's fine. I would much rather that than it get patchy, because then it's just like it's accentuating that makeup on my face, which is what I hate. Okay. So now that my under eyes are set, I'm gonna do some of the same Shiva shade under my eyes with my favorite under eye shadow brush, which I wish I could find a different brand dupe. This is an IT Cosmetics like number 12 smudge brush. It's just soft and the right density and the right shape. I just have not been able to find something similar, and I wish I could, because I don't really love the IT Cosmetics brand. I would love to find an alternative. So if you have any ideas, it's like the density and the stiffness while also being soft. Because my lower lash line area is very sensitive to pokey brushes, and most pencil brushes are quite pokey, and you can't like go back and forth like that without it like really kind of irritating the skin under there. So, all right, and I'm gonna take the lightest shade Zuri again and try to go kind of subtle-ish on my inner corner. I don't want it to be like super duper bright. And this shade is, you know, darker than my skin tone, so it's not going to be like a really bold, bright inner corner, which is fine. That's what I'm going for here. I don't want it to be like this huge contrast from the color I have on my lids. I want it to just kind of like be shiny, but also blend in with the other color okay. Because sometimes I'll use my highlight or something in there and then it's just like, it looks white compared to everything else, and that's fine, but that's just not what I'm going for right this moment. What else? So I need eyebrows. I guess I could show the eyebrows that I have been doing a lot lately, though not the past few days. I've been using the DIPBROW pomade from Anastasia a ton. And I think this one, maybe both of them. Both of them had gotten a little bit dry, so what I did was mix it up. That's all I did. I mixed it up. And that really kind of brings back that moisture to the whole product where, you know, the top might be a little dried out, but underneath it's fine. So this is an easy way of kind of getting that all back together. So it's not like you're adding any moisture to it. You're just combining the moisture that's underneath with what's on top, which might have gotten dried out. That was a lot of words for something that did not require a lot of words. I'm just using this metal palette. And what I try to do is get my, by brushing it down, get my little brush to the like most sharp point as possible. And this brush is not great for it, but it's usable. This is an Ulta eyebrow brush. I'm not sure if it's got a number. If it has a number, it's not on there. Who knows if they still make this brush? I'm by no means recommending it. It's just what I use upstairs. Downstairs, I have a different brush from ColourPop, which I think is a better stiffness, density for this, because this one gets really floppy and the bristles start coming apart really quickly. So I'm constantly going back to my little palette and trying to smush it all together again. So I'm able to get more like distinct brow hair lines with the ColourPop brush. And if I remember, I will put the number of that brush somewhere. I actually made kind of a big order from ColourPop. I did some makeup purchases for the first time in quite a while during this whole Black Friday thing. It was like, there were some things from Sephora that were like really, really heavily discounted. And what else did I get? The ColourPop, I'd been thinking about trying to get their tinted moisturizer since I saw they had a tinted moisturizer. Ooh, that was a little too far. So while it's still kind of wet, you can go in there and if you get a little over enthusiastic, fix things up. Oh goodness. I think I need a little bit more. It's getting a little dry here because my jabbering. So I picked up the ColourPop tint moisturizer and also their new concealer that's supposed to be like hydrating or whatever. Their matte concealer I cannot use because it is so chalky and dry. So I've got, you know, I'm hoping at least the other one is usable, whereas the other one really is pretty much not usable for me. And I also picked up I think that big palette from Kathleen Lights, the like Jaded palette or So Jaded or something. Because everything was 30% off except for the really, really new releases. So it's like, well, I haven't ordered from ColourPop in months and months and months. Let me grab a couple things. I also got another matte Super Shock Shadow, which I love their Super Shock Shadow mattes. I think they are amazing on kind of textured skin, because a lot of mattes can, if you do like a one shadow look with just a matte on kind of more mature skin type issues, it can really look powdery and kind of accentuate the texture in the way that also a shimmer, like super metallic shimmer does. Oh jeez, I really don't have the voice for all this talking because of this cold / digestive situation. Mess. I'm a mess. Okay, so that's pretty much my eyebrows done. This is not the best eyebrow. Also remember to wipe this off while it's still kind of wet because otherwise it's a pain to get off. it really, really locks down tight on there. I have learned that the hard way. Yeah, it's like digestive thing plus weird throat thing. I don't know what's happening. Okay, so I am gonna put mascara on so I don't look so unusual. But first I'm gonna finish up my brows. I'm using the e.l.f. Beautifully Bare Sheer Brow Tint in medium. This stuff for me stays as well as Anastasia Clear Brow Gel, and it's tinted. It's the only tinted brow gel I've found that has the same kind of hold as the Anastasia. I have tried the Anastasia tinted brow, and it's okay. I find it really hard to use because it's so pigmented and it's a lot thicker, whereas this stuff is very, very thin but has really good hold. So you can get a tiny bit of volume and a little bit of a tint. So it's easier to use, it's harder to mess up, whereas I find the Anastasia brow gel is so easy to mess up. And you can use it as a pomade, really, because it's got such a strong color to it. And I have used that, but I actually prefer the DIPBROW just because I've found a way to make the DIPBROW work for me without much effort, whereas the I feel like I've got a little bit of a hole in that eyebrow. I think I missed a spot. Whereas using the tinted brow gel, like I have to, first of all, getting it off the brush, off the spoolie onto a brush is kind of a hassle. And I just find the texture is a little harder for me personally to work with compared to the DIPBROW. But if you have it and you're like struggling to find a way to use it because the spoolie thing is so hard to use, definitely give it a try painting it on like a pomade. That was an excellent tip from somebody left a comment on one of my videos a while back saying that they were, I think, a soccer player, and that they found that that held up really well to sweat. And I agree, it does hold up great to sweat. All right, so eyebrows are done. That adds a little bit more color and definition to where I have the least amount of brow hairs. I have recently dyed my eyebrows. So I've got a lot more color in my brows than I do naturally, but I still just don't have a lot of brow hairs in the front. So that can kind of plump up the hairs I do have, make them a little bit darker and a little more contrast and texture from the DIPBROW, which is on my skin. Mascara. I don't know. What I've been using a ton, if you follow me on Instagram and look at the pictures of my makeup, this Maybelline Lash Sensational has been in usage for a long time now. What is that? I think I got some like eye goop stuck to my eyeshadow there. That's attractive. But this tube is on its way out. Anyway, I find that this formula plus this brush seems to kind of get a lot of product on my lashes quickly, which is what I like. I don't like spending forever trying to build something up because I like a lot of volume, and it doesn't tend to get really chunky, clumpy towards the ends. That's kind of my pet peeve. And I find it actually does hold up to some sweatiness. If I have like sweat actively dripping through my eyelashes, it will run a bit, which I don't think is that surprising. But it holds up better than some other mascaras do. So it's not quite as good as something that's like a tubing mascara or a water resistant or a waterproof mascara. But, you know, some incidental like eye watering, I think it holds up pretty well too. So lower lash mascara, I have been using this again. The Clump Crusher Water Resistant. This definitely holds up to heavy sweat in my experience. And sometimes I just do these outer lashes. If my eyes are gonna water, it's gonna water towards the outer corners. And often, just due to brush shapes, I have a tendency to kind of miss that outer corner with my bigger, more voluminous shaped brushes. So a lot of times, whatever I'm using on my lower lashes, I'll kind of try to go over my outer lashes, which are like pointed they kind of go out this way as opposed to the rest of my lashes. So sometimes they're just hard to grab with a regular wand. Things are looking better. Mascara makes a really big difference for me. Okay, the blush I'm going to use is this Found Baked Illuminating Blush. Found is a brand that's at Walmart. I think it's still at Walmart. Maybe not, I don't know. This color is Peach Glow. It is, I'm using a dense brush, this discontinued Sonia Kashuk brush, because the pigmentation on this is pretty weak. So I would say only fair skin really is going to be able to see much from this. It does have a nice sheen to it, but it's not like metallic. Like some of the Milani shimmery blushes are just so metallic that it's really like a highlighter, and they can be kind of difficult to use as a blush. And that gives me enough of a sheen that I feel like if I'm not trying to, because sometimes, you know, I'm wearing all these pretty masculine clothes, I got a masculine haircut, and then I have like this super intense glam, like highlight and shiny eyes and sharp eyebrows, and it's like, whoa, that is a lot, and it's a very confusing mix. So sometimes I like to make it a little bit more like, okay, I'm not going to do everything like to the absolute intensity, shine, everything, and then everything else is like very masculine. That's just me and how I feel at this very moment. And the thing is that I am a little bit fluid on that. Like sometimes I'm okay with being a little bit more feminine. I do go very feminine on my face, and I am totally aware of the fact that some of that is just to make people feel less uncomfortable, and that's a whole other video. But since I've cut my hair like this, whew, people have given me some nasty looks in public. Like basically white dudes have been like angry, looking at me like angry. And like I smile and they're just like scowling at me. And I do feel like the makeup can help kind of like, oh, okay, she's a girl, you know? Because otherwise there's this confusion, and it shouldn't be the way it is, but that's the way it is, right? People get uncomfortable when they're not sure what you are, and it's just the way it is, unfortunately. And I don't think anybody should have to present one way or the other to make other people comfortable. Obviously, it's about making yourself comfortable. Fortunately, I really enjoy makeup, but I do notice that there's a little bit in the back of my mind like, well, you know, it will make people more comfortable because they'll see that makeup and be like, okay, you're a girl, you know? That's messed up. And hopefully at some point I won't feel like I need to do that. But since I enjoy the makeup process and I enjoy putting makeup on my face, I don't feel so bad about it because ultimately I want to wear makeup anyway. But I do know that some of that goes into my thought process, which is interesting. Interesting. Okay, so last thing, lips. I am so bad at figuring out a lip that I'm gonna feel comfortable and like in. Last night I did a very bold lip situation. It was like this kind of purpley lip liner and this like bold red, but that's a lot of work trying to get my lip line looking nice and everything. So when I'm not feeling that, what I tend to do is a little lip balm and then like a good nude color for me right now that I'm liking. There's a couple that I've been wearing a lot. One is the Milani Matte Innocence. There we go. It's just Innocence and it's a matte. So that one, and also this lip pencil, which I thought was out, but I don't think it is out. This came from BoxyCharm. I have canceled my BoxyCharm, but one of my old BoxyCharm boxes is this Steve Laurent lip pencil in Chic. This is a little bit more... I'm gonna do this and see how I feel about it, and feel like sometimes I feel like once I put my lips on, it's like, oh, it's too much. I don't want to be that made up looking. The nice thing about lip pencils is that it doesn't give you much texture. It just gives you some color. So I feel like it can look like, well, your lips are just kind of that color, and then maybe you have a little balm on. I do find this lip pencil really applies better with some sort of balm underneath. Otherwise it can get kind of, it drags and can get a little chunky. Since my lips are usually dry, I do put a balm on first, and then it works so much better. But I feel like this color is very kind of natural looking for my lips, though it is quite a bit darker than my natural lip color. My natural lip color doesn't have really much color to it at all, so it's very much depends how much like blood flow is going to my lips, so they can look kind of purpley when there isn't a lot of blood flow going there. So right here, I don't have much lip balm. You can see it looks a lot darker right there. So it definitely goes on more sheer over a balm or something slippery. So what I'll do if I want that more intense color is I'll put the balm on and then I will like wipe it off so my lips have a little slip to it, but not as much as if I had just freshly applied it. And what I do to try to get lips to look a little bit less done is I then just blur out the edges with my finger, and I've got mascara on my fingernail. So it just takes off some of the product on the edges and also blurs my lip line. And it just looks a little bit more natural. And then if I feel like that's too dark, what I can do is then just go over this with the MILANI lighter lipstick. That lightens it up a little. I don't know. So this is kind of the type of makeup I've been wearing lately. I've been doing more simple eye looks of late, and then just kind of going back and testing stuff in my large stock of foundations. And it's been nice not getting a bunch of new foundations. Maybe I'll do swatches, but it's doubtful, because the swatches are really what kind of get me down. I know they're the most useful, but they're also like tedious, and I don't know, man. Swatches just bum me out. And yeah, so I think I have swatches of that NARS foundation though for some other review I was doing, so I will link that and maybe show a little picture of that if I can locate that. So anyway, that's a look I've been doing. Now it's like 40 minutes. We'll see how things go when I go to edit this. Let me know if you have any questions. I have no idea when my next video will be. No promises. I'm just trying to do it only based on when I feel like it, when I have time, and we'll just go with that, because the YouTube grind just got to me, and you know, I've had depression issues where I've just lost interest in things, and that was part of it. And yeah, so I just needed to kind of step away for a while, and we'll see what happens. So let me know if you have any questions. Hope you're having a great day. Hope you had a good holiday. This Thanksgiving was somewhat recently if you celebrate. Yeah, I'll see you soon or not soon.